everybody. Welcome back to the Voices of Valhalla, episode 4. As always, I'm your host, Skylar Race. We are without our co-host, Derek Ramos, today, but we do have a mental health advocate and suicide prevention specialist, Amanda Race. She's going to introduce us to kind of what she does, talk about the things she's been through, things she's seen with her program and what she does. So if you want to go ahead, take it away.
So I've been an advocate for 6 years probably. I was an ambassador with an organization called Stop Soldier Suicide for many years. Through working with them, I met many families, many people, and they offer clinical care. Very great organization. Top-notch clinical care. When I first started working with them 5-6 years ago, they were fantastic. But I did realize that there is so much more that we need to offer than just clinical care. Mental health falls under so many different things. To be able to receive therapy, you have to be in a place to be ready. So whether that's a job, a home, help with your kids, child custody battles. There's so many different things that people need just to get them into a space to be able to receive therapy if they need it. So 2 years ago, I started a nonprofit called Let's Talk Strength, Inc., and we basically do everything. And it's very hard to try to explain that to people because most people have, whether it's, dog therapy or horse therapy or clinical care or housing or feeding programs. What we say is we do whatever it takes. Whatever it looks like, whatever's needed, that's what we do. So we usually get the ones where they can't find any help anywhere. And we help with a lot of spaces where people are just falling through the cracks. So whatever it looks like, that's what we do.
So I've noticed you said care and different programs and stuff like that quite a bit. What kind of VA care, that kind of stuff, do you kind of see and deal with?
So I will tell you that probably 70% of the calls we receive, whether it be from a veteran or a family of a veteran, it's because the VA has not done what they needed. I will say that there's a case that I'm working on now where 6 months later, the VA has showed up and this guy is in a treatment facility and it's a wonderful program through the VA. But when he initially reached out in September and said, I am going to hurt myself or hurt somebody else, I need help now, he was given a date of November 4th. So we needed to keep him safe and others safe until then. So we needed to provide care for him until he could get into the VA. So there are several situations where people are being misdiagnosed through the VA or over-medicated through the VA, or the appointments are being pushed back through the VA. I think that, it depends on where you are. I think it depends on who you end up with. But I would say 70% of the calls I get is somewhere the VA's failed.
I can attest to that. I've heard many horror stories of people call in that are depressed, maybe not suicidal at that point, but depressed. And I've almost heard the opposite, not the opposite, but I've heard what differs is unless they say they're going to harm themselves that instant, the VA has told them, sorry, there's nothing we can do. And this isn't a bash on the VA. We get that. Yeah, they're very helpful.
Yep.
So I don't want anybody to take it as that. The VA is very helpful. It's just there's more resources that people can use and go out there and get that might be more specific to what they need.
Absolutely.
With that being said, what are the most helpful resources that you've kind of been around?
So it's really, really hard to put that in a box. We actually just launched our new website, and I put very few resources on that website because everything is so case specific. Everybody needs something different. And on top of that, unfortunately, the red tape is a nightmare. So I try to explain that to people by think about it if you're trying to deal with like your cable bill, right? And you're frustrated and you're talking to the first person, you're like, here's what happened, here's what happened. Okay, let me connect you. And they connect you to somebody else, right? And you're retelling your story 3 or 4 times. So if somebody who is in a mental health crisis has to go through that type of process, and it's just kickback, send you here, send you here, send you here, constant, 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 constant. Can you imagine what is going to happen? So that is where the unfortunate part of a lot of organizations fall short. And I get it. Like, I don't want to take away. I understand that, you need a DD-214 to authenticate. I get the reasons, but it also can be detrimental in many situations. So there are very few that are listed on my website. We do have Stop Soldier Suicide. Again, I do believe that their clinical care is top notch. They have changed their care, though. When I first started working with them, they served all 50 states, and they would serve out of country too. And now, because of telehealth and COVID stuff and whatever the reasons, they now only serve 12 states. So that is the situation. Now we've cut a lot out. So I still believe what they provide is amazing. It's just only, less than a quarter of what they did. The Stephen A. Cohen, there is one in North Carolina and in Florida, and they do online. They have been amazing. The Camaraderie Foundation, amazing. So there are quite a few out there that are really, really great. And then there's quite a few that are good, but the red tape is really frustrating. So that's where we come in, and you can go on our website or you can contact me directly. But if you go to our website, you can actually fill it out really quick, what kind of care you're looking for, what kind of needs you have, and we do the legwork for you. And we figure out what you need, in what direction to go in, because everybody's situation is different.
Yep, very much. I can say that I had to get ankle surgery when I was still in, and getting through the red tape of that was just a nightmare. So I can only imagine what it's like now. Like, now that you're out and you're having to do all this stuff. So you yourself are not a veteran, obviously. Like, Mom, I was a veteran. So what does it kind of look like dealing with the family side of somebody that's going through this mental struggle and that kind of thing?
So I would say more often than not, I have families reach out to me. The families reach out to me more than the actual veteran does, and they don't know what to do. I had one family that they were locking their doors at night. They just didn't know what to do, and they were dealing with it for, I want to say, 7 years. Misdiagnosed through the VA, and put on the wrong medicine. And so when a family comes to me, the only thing I make them promise me is every step we take for your veteran, we take a step for you as well. So it is very, very difficult as a family member to be supportive, but still hold our loved one accountable. And I have had to learn that. It is something that we have to do. You can feel bad, you can have sympathy, you can have empathy, you can have all those things, but your veteran, your active duty service member, they are still accountable for their actions. So you need to hold them accountable, and you need to understand that you have to put work into yourself as well. So we will take a step for them, but we're going to take a step for you. So we're going to get them into therapy. We're going to get them into a job. We're going to get them into this or that, whatever it is that they need. We will get them a separate diagnosis. That happens a lot where they feel like they were misdiagnosed. So we're going to bring them somewhere else. We're going to get them a diagnosis somewhere else, see where we're at. Because if the family feels like they were misdiagnosed, they're certainly not going to hold them accountable. So we will get them in somewhere else and get them a proper diagnosis, make sure their medicine's correct if they need it, make sure their therapy's correct, but then the family alongside is going to agree to do family support groups or things for themselves to work on their own mental health while they're dealing with this.
Okay. Gotcha. Which is huge. That I don't feel like it's talked about enough what families have to go through when their veteran is in that kind of state of mind. It's tough on the veteran, don't get me wrong, that it's fucking horrible to go through. Family side, they got to watch it. And a lot of them don't know what to do. So like you said, they've got to take those steps to not only make their vet better, but make themselves better as well. So they can be there for their vet the way that they need them to be. Something that we talked about kind of offline that I was unaware of, the whole 22 a day number. I was always under the assumption that was set in stone, 22 a day, that's what we're losing. Can you go into a little bit of detail about what that number means and what it is exactly?
So the 22 a day, essentially, I use it more as a symbol. It is a symbol of how many we're losing a day. It was based off of a study that was done, I don't remember the year, a few years back. That is how many they said we were losing a day. If you look at the number now through the DOD, I believe it's 17. But there have been proven studies done within the last 2 years that show that those numbers could potentially be double. You take Tinker Air Force Base, they just last year, I think it was, released an article that said, listen, we're not giving you our numbers. We're not giving them to you. If we tell you and we release this, it's going to be a fad, and people are just they're going to keep doing it. And the craziness behind that. And then there was, I cannot think right now who it was, but there was an organization, I want to say 2 years ago, and they took 3 states and did a study on what the actual numbers look like if we were to include the intentional drug overdoses, the intentional car accidents, the things that were labeled as gun accidents but were not. And there is a way to really dig deep and try to figure that out. Right. And that was done. And when that study was done, the numbers were double. So when people say 22, yeah, I'll use that number for symbolic reasons, but I try really hard to let people know this is a symbol. This is not it. And we don't know the real numbers, but I can promise you it is probably double.
I don't even have words to say to that. I know a lot of us, we all hear that number of 22 and we're like, Jesus, that's a lot. And that's the number, like you said, everybody uses that number. Everybody says that number. So to even think that it could be in the realm of double, let alone possibly over, it's just, there's got to be changes made. And hopefully with this podcast, with the work that you do, obviously we're never going to be able to erase it, but we can help where we can.
It's got to be from the outside right now. There's a lot of stuff I get into with people about, the military being weakened or soft, or I have one of the boys that we honor had to kill an 8-year-old that was strapped with bombs. Okay. I will never, ever question what it takes to turn somebody into the kind of person that's able to do that. That's not my place. That's not and nobody should question that. where I come in, and we do have groups doing it. There's a group called Moms Across America or something like that, and they're in there trying to do all these things to weaken and soften, and I believe that's the name of them. I could be wrong. So
No, I know who you're talking
but
about.
I think that's them.
Yeah.
But there are organizations that are trying to weaken. This kid couldn't. I say kid, but he couldn't handle what he had done, and he ended up taking his life. I'm never going to question what it takes on the front end, because it takes something that I can't fathom, and nor should I be involved in. But what I will question is what we're doing on the back end. And that's where we have to make changes. We don't need to soften our military. That is not what we need to do. But we need to do better on the back end. That's where we need changes.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's I don't remember their name exactly, but I think you got it right. I remember when I was in boot camp, there well, shortly after I got out of boot camp, because obviously we don't have phones or access to anything like that. But I remember somebody had brought up a post about how that group was not wanting us to do pull-ups or get yelled at or something, and it's it might look weird from the outside, and it might be like, what the hell's wrong with these people? Why do they sign up for this? But on the inside, what it does is it tears you down and it builds you as a different person. And it's not many words can kind of put that into reality. There's no way you can explain that kind of thing. Um, it's just different. And like you say a lot, I've heard you say it, is uh, do better, be better, or something like that.
You can only do better when you know better.
Know better, that's what it is. Yeah, perfect. So,
I got that actually from a very smart lady who lost her son to suicide. He was 15 years old, and she is now an advocate and one of the strongest women I know. And it honestly is one of the smartest things I've ever heard. And so pushing education and really understanding we can only do what we can do, but if we choose to know more, then we can do better. So a lot of what our organization does, and Tanya, one of my other amazing moms, she is the head of the Anthony Molstat Foundation, and she is actively going on to base and bringing assist training to the bases. It's a 2-day training program. And she is doing it. She is making it happen. The military does provide suicide prevention training. Some get it, some don't. I think the most common one they use is called SAVE. It's right. But the assist training, Tanya is raising money for this, and it's like $275 per participant, but it's a 2-day training program, and she is going on base. She is getting on base and teaching these programs. It is huge. Our organization is running QPR classes, and to put it lightly without being offensive, I explain it as suicide prevention for dummies. It is like 2 hours. You get a certification. It is free, and it is just bam, bam, bam. Like the easiest, simplest things to know that you wouldn't even think of. Like you take this class and you walk away and you're like, oh my gosh. And I can't tell you how many lives you will save just by taking this class. We did a 6-week course at a Richard's Coffee Shop, and it was really great. I mean, just education and breaking that stigma and teaching people it is okay, and understanding the signs to look for and talking about it and asking the question. Asking the simple question, are you thinking about suicide? It's that simple. So many people tiptoe around it. It is that simple. You have to be able to look at your veteran or your active duty service member and ask the question. And then you need to know what to do next.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. And the fact that she's getting on base is awesome.
Huge.
I'll say from my experience, I was only in 4 years, so my experience is very different than a lot of people's. We didn't have a suicide prevention thing really. We didn't have anything like that. And a big problem is, well, you're in at least, and I'd say even after you get out, but while you're in, definitely, is it shows you're weak. It shows you're not fit to do what you have to do. Your NCOs or staff NCOs, people like that, they don't want you to do it because they feel like it makes the unit look bad, and that's not how it is. And
the fear of losing your job,
fear of losing
your position, or losing.
Yeah, there's so many fears that go behind it, and it's just looking back. I wish we would have had something like that. That's awesome that she's able to get on base and teach, and hopefully a lot of people can go to those classes and get that education they need. And that's awesome. Can't express enough how awesome that is.
It is huge.
Yep.
It is huge. And the active duty service members need to be told as well that there are outside organizations that they can use confidentially.
Yeah.
And that was a big reason why I really like Stop Soldier Suicide. They were one of the first ones to implement that, to where active duty were able to use them, and it was completely confidential. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people that are in don't realize it's not coming back. Mm-hmm. Your leader, your command's not going to find out. It is not coming back. This is completely confidential. The chaplain is not the only person you have to talk to, I promise.
Yeah, that's what we got told was. Mm-hmm. I won't speak necessarily for myself in this, but I've heard stories and all kinds of things of people going to their first sergeant, people going to their sergeant major, whoever it is, their lieutenant, and being like, I need to talk to chaps, I need to talk to so-and-so. And it's immediate either shutdown or the fear that chaps is going to go back and talk to him. And I know chaps isn't supposed to, and I know that most chaps are fucking awesome.
Most of them say, don't go back and tell your command what you just told me.
Exactly.
Most of them say that.
Yep. But there's the fear of if mine doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So these resources are huge to have. It's awesome. You had mentioned Richard's Coffee Shop. I've been there a couple times. A lot of older vets are there, kind of opposite of what I am, and
yep.
kind of opposite of our kind of group that we have. So how can we go about getting the younger vets and the older vets together to talk and to just shoot the shit?
So I will tell you, in my experience, this is something that I've been working on for a long time. Our older vets, I love them. Love them, love them, love them. But they have VFWs, coffee shops, places to go. They wear their hats that you can recognize them. It's easy to walk up and thank them for their service. It is very, very different. I understand that they were the ones getting spit on when they came back. I'm not taking anything away. But they seem to have a different space of coming together. I will also tell you that our higher number of suicides are people that have never been deployed. That is mind-blowing to people. They have no idea. So it's not just the older and younger generations that are separated. This is something that we have been actively working on. Jim Kiger is the head, I forget what he's called, head of the board anyway, at Richards. Wonderful man. I adore him. And we've been working for a couple years to try to really, really figure it out. And it's not just the age gap. It is definitely, there's so much separation, whether it is the older and the younger combat vet versus not combat. There's separation everywhere. But the older and the younger, I will say that all the younger ones that I talk to are like, I don't want to go in there and listen to their stories. I don't want to. Like, they don't want to go in there and listen to them. And then the people that are non-combat don't want to go and hang out with combat because
They don't feel good enough.
yeah.
I wasn't in combat. I'll speak for it.
Yeah.
I have a hard time associating with a combat vet because there's a guy at work. He's a combat vet. He'll start telling me stories and stuff, and I'll feel like my service was lesser. He's never, ever implemented that. He's never even come close to saying anything like that.
Yep.
But he'll talk about the stories, and he'll tell me all this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, well, I worked at the tank ramp for 4 years. Like, I didn't do nothing, and it sucks because you don't feel that connection. But that's the barrier we have to break down is the combat vets and the non-combat vets and the older guys and the younger guys, we're all on the same team. And we just got to realize
And what the younger guys don't realize is you're going to be those older guys. You're going to be them. So it's just tough to try to figure it out. And like I said, we are trying to work on it. I have had several people tell me that are non-combat vets that struggle with mental illness, that it's almost like they feel bad that they feel bad. Like, why do I have mental health issues when this dude, he's missing 2 legs and he's getting around just fine, and I'm over here having mental health issues? And so it's almost like the mental health issues and then the guilt on top of it is making me feel even worse. And then it's just a vicious cycle. And at the end of the day, yeah, all your experiences are different, but you all are a very small percentage of people who made a decision to die for your country, whether you did or not. You said, I'm going to do this. I will do this. So whether it happened or it didn't happen, that puts you all in the same group. And it's only 1%.
Yeah. It's almost like a form of survivor's guilt.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it's been. Yeah.
Yeah. It sucks and it's sad. And we're going to break down that barrier one chip at a time. And it's like the president said way back when the Berlin Wall fell. Sure, tear down that wall. That's us. We're going to come down, we're going to figure it out, and we're going to bring everybody together one brick at a time if need be. With that being said, I know that Let's Talk Strength does a lot of events, a lot of situations like that. Can you give us any kind of insight, any scoop about any events coming up?
We do have our 5th annual 5K coming up. So the first 4 we did, 100% of the proceeds went directly to Stop Soldier Suicide. This is the first year that we are not doing that. We are actually going to try to bring it back into our community because we are doing really cool stuff in our community. And I do try to figure out what I can with the younger guys. We are working a program right now with a local trade school, and they have an average of 130 veterans or active duty, because there's a lot of National Guard. There's 130 per semester, and they're all in that age group. Yep. So what we're doing is going in there once a month and doing a luncheon. And so when I talked to the student affairs guy, he's like, it was in October, and he's like, well, do you want to come for the Veterans Day Fair? There's a bunch of people. And I'm like, no, I'm not coming for that. They're going to see them one time, never see them again. That's not what we're doing here. We're going to build trust. We're going to build relationships. This is what it is. And he's like, well, I don't know if they're going to come. And I'm like, if I feed them, they'll come. Trust me. So if they got food. So we have done 3, and we feed them. We have had probably between, he said we'd get about 20, and everyone we've had between 75 and 85. Nice. The second one, we had a company come in because they have an HVAC program. So we had an HVAC company come in and talk. We had Jim from Richards come and talk. So we'll bring guests in with us. And but by the third one, No, the second one, I had 4 people reach out and ask for help.
It's awesome.
So it's working.
Yep.
It's working.
Brick by brick.
Yep.
You got to keep climbing.
So we just need to bring it back into the community. I really want to start doing like axe throwing, gun range, that type of stuff with the younger vets. Spades tournaments, whatever it looks like. I really want to start pulling things like that together, and it takes funding, and we're already paying for clinical care, and so that stuff it takes funding, and it's hard. And we were paying out of pocket for most of it until Aero Mechanical stepped up and did a golf tournament for us last year. And they're the ones who really, really made a lot of this happen because they believed in our mission and what we were doing. And they're going to do a golf tournament every year. And it's going to go to us, which is amazing. But that's all we really have other than this 5K that we're switching gears. And it's going to come back to the community. So that's on May 17th. And we're adding some things. It's usually just the walk. You can walk, rock, run, get pushed in a freaking shopping cart. We don't care. Just come. But it's definitely different than any other 5K you've been to. We have signs along the route of ones we've lost to suicide. We have families come that the second year I had a mom show up and her son had died maybe 2 months prior. And you could tell she was in shock still. And she was just kind of blindly looking around. And it was so amazing that she was there. Year 3, she had to take off because I think it hit her. In year 4, she came back with a vengeance. Her entire family, they had people walking virtually. They got second place for biggest amount raised or biggest participation. And her 90-year-old parents walked the whole thing.
It's awesome.
The whole thing. Like, it just, to surround them with the love, it's amazing. And these moms inspire me every day to keep pushing and doing this because they're amazing, strong women.
That's awesome. So, you heard it here, May 17th, 5K. You can sign up through the website, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
The website is www.letstalkstrength.com. You can find resources. You can sign up for the walk. You can donate. You can ask for help. There's so many options on that website. You can also... We have signs that we bring to many events that honor loved ones we've lost to military suicide. And there's actually a space on there where you can submit for one of those. And we will honor your loved one. And there's a small spot on there. And, you can go ahead and fill that out. But I think the phone number's on there somewhere. I would love for you to call me. You call me and we will talk about your service all day long, because yes, it's important how they died because that's how we spread awareness and that's how we make a change. But it is way more important how they lived, and I want to hear all about him or her.
Yep, absolutely. We will. We're going to attach the link to the website down below. You said PayPal's on there, donation sites on the website?
Yep, everything's on there.
So everything will be on that website. We'll attach the link. I know that this episode was a lot more serious than the normal Voices of Valhalla shooting the shit, but it's good to have. We need to make sure that these resources get out to people. We need to make sure that the voices are heard. We need to make sure that people are getting the help they need and that they deserve. And that's everything from if they're struggling mentally to the parents, the family doesn't know how to help them right. Got to make sure that everybody's getting help. Anything else?
We also have live music and food trucks at at the event this year. So that is something different.
I'm game. I heard food.
Dakota Groves will be playing, and I'm really excited about that. So we're going to have stuff going on out back of Richards this year. So that's going to be a little different than normal. We want as many people involved as possible. So if you don't want to walk or you can't walk, come out anyway. We're going to do raffles and live music. Mr. D's is going to bring the food truck, who's a veteran. Awesome dude. Awesome dude. And it really is going to be great. So it's something to be a part of. It really is.
Awesome. Absolutely. Get signed up, get down there. And you can if you can't make it there yourself, you can still sign a team up and do a virtual walk. Whatever it is that you can do to get involved, do it. It's a great organization. It's a great thing to be involved with. Highly suggest it. To wrap things up on this episode, again, super serious episode. This is the type of stuff that it's hard to talk about. It's hard to know, but you need to know. As always, if you want to appear on the Voices of Valhalla, link will be in the link tree. Everybody have a good one.